Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn, and I'm here with best-selling author Tori Eldridge to talk about her new mystery series. It's the first book in her new mystery series, KAUA'I Storm. Welcome to the show, Tori.
Mahalo. Thanks so much for having me, Tracy.
It is my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. Can I tell you how much I love this cover?
Oh, me
It's so
too.
evocative. I just really love it. The red flowers on there. I
The
don't know if
lehua
it,
blossoms.
okay, so these are like native to the islands. That's
They
why I was curious.
are,
Yeah,
and I
nice.
asked for them specifically because,
Great.
everybody knows hibiscus and, plumeria and ginger and all of that. Not
Yeah.
too many people know lehua. And
No.
the lehua blossoms and the ohia lehua trees actually play, a significant part in the story. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. 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 Well, you're speaking of I have one little small story. You mentioned plumeria, which made me think about it. Uh my husband and I went to Maui maybe 20 years ago now, and someone there introduced us to I'm pretty sure it was the plumeria flower. They told us when you squeeze the flower, it smells kind of citrusy, right? And
hmm.
so every time we saw plumeria, my husband would go up and he would squeeze the flower. And I'm like, would you stop squeezing all the flowers? And it was so very unlike him, but it was cute, right? So your husband going up smelling, squeezing flowers. He did it. And he squeezed a flower, and a lizard jumps out of the flower and
Oh my.
gave us both a little bit of a heart attack. So, needless to say, he did not squeeze any more of those flowers after
Oh, that's
that.
hilarious. I'm pretty sure it wasn't plumeria because I'll tell you, plumeria has a very strong scent. You
Okay.
don't even need to get close to it to smell it.
Okay.
And if you
All right. Well, I
squeezed it,
wonder
it would
what that
have
was
this
then.
milky white sap that would come out the bottom of
Ah,
the thing. So
then it's
I'm
not
guessing it's not
plumeria.
that.
Yeah, it was kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, it was kind of like a red, oh, kind of like a waxy red
Could be a
thing.
torch ginger.
Gosh,
We have
I'm
yellow
gonna have to
ginger,
look
white
it up
ginger,
now.
torch ginger.
Yeah, I thought it was plumeria, but I think now that you say that, plumeria's got a very pretty, like whitish, yellowish, depends,
Hmm.
I guess. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
That's
But that was
okay.
my Hawaiian Islands story I had to share with you.
That's
So,
funny.
why don't you get us started by telling us a bit about yourself and your writing journey, just whatever you'd like to share.
Oh goodness, I feel like everybody's heard my writing journey so
Ah,
many times, right?
it's a
But
good
okay,
one. It's a
so
good one.
relevant to KAUA'I Storm, I was born and raised in Honolulu. My mother came from Maui. My dad came from North Dakota. But our roots go back to the Big Island and then to Molokai and then Maui and then to Oahu. So that's kind of my heritage trail, right? And so that was really fun. Of course, I didn't set out to become a writer. I was going to be an actress, singer, dancer on Broadway, which I did. And then I went to LA and did film, and I started writing screenplays. And and that went pretty well. And somebody suggested I write novels, and so I expanded it to a novel. But it wasn't until like 13 years after that that I decided, no, I'm ready to do this as a career. And I made the shift to transfer everything on my 50th birthday. And this has become the career for the second half century of my life. How do you like that?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's great. That's great. No, it's wonderful. I know that you're known for your Lily Wong series, and then you had just a standalone that you wrote as well, the dancing standalone. And all of them have been great. I've been a fan of yours for quite a long time, as I mentioned
Oh,
before I hit the record button. And I tell you, when this came across a Kauai Storm, when it came across my desk, my virtual desk at first, and I saw Ranger in there. I'm like,
ooh,
yes,
some kind of
the
action.
yeah, no, it was like I'm a conservationist at heart, so I love national parks. We go to as many as we can, and so as soon as I saw a ranger and I saw the cover, I'm like, I have to get this book and read it, and maybe I'll even get to talk to Tori if I'm lucky. So it's great.
Nice. So did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Yeah. Well
Yay.
done. Yeah. Well done. Very well done. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a series, but we'll talk about that just by the way it was left. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But
Okay.
if you don't mind, if you could just give us a quick overview of Kauai Storm and maybe if you recall what sparked the idea for I know what sparked the idea for writing in this setting, I think, based on your intro there, but maybe what this character, Ranger, and I'm going to try to say the name, Pahukula?
Pahukula.
Pahukula. Okay,
Pahukula.
I was
Yeah,
hoping I'd
yeah.
get it. Okay.
I don't know where that name came from. I don't know any Makalanis. I don't know any Pahukulas. I didn't, sometimes I'll look up the meaning of names and choose from
Yeah.
there. But when I thought of her, her name just came to me, Makalani
Yeah.
Pahukula. I love
That's
saying it,
beautiful. Yeah, it's
and
beautiful.
since when I write, I speak out loud, saying the name really makes a difference for me.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
later, when I ended up in narrating the audiobook, it made even more of a difference. So her name really came first, and I knew I wanted her to be a ranger because she grew up on a homestead in Anahola, Kauai, on her grandmother's homestead, and so she was taught in the traditional ways to care for and respect the Aina, the land. And
Yeah.
so this is something that she would carry with her. So I wanted her, and she was used to hiking in the wilderness. Over 90% of Kauai is uninhabited and wilderness. So
Mm.
this is what she's accustomed to. So a ranger was a really good profession for that,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
Oregon seemed like a wonderful place to place her, not only because my eldest son's family and my grandchildren are in Oregon, but I fell in love with it too. And the
Yeah.
trees and the mountains, they really spoke to me. And so I felt that they would speak to her. And
Yeah.
then from there, with me, it always comes first with research and then a genealogy, almost always. And
Yeah.
so once I had Makalani and I knew that she was going to be on Tutu's homestead, and this was very relevant, it all kind of centers around Tutu, even though it's the cousins who are missing. I did a genealogy from Tutu's mother. So it really goes back quite a ways. And, all those brothers and sisters and how it came down and all the different ethnicities that get married
Hmm.
into and the percentages
Yeah.
of Hawaiian and Korean and Japanese and etc. And all of these things played a really big, yes, we even put a genealogy at the
Yeah.
beginning of the book. It's a
Yeah.
much
It's great.
simplified
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
Mine has all sorts of information on it. Yeah, yeah. So, it begins, from research. Out of that comes a character, out of that comes a family, and then out of that comes a story.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it was fascinating. And it's, shame on me, but I never stopped to think about all of the different ethnicities that would get intermingled in an island environment like that.
Mm.
And so I thought that was really, really interesting. And one of the things that you did in this book, just many years ago, I wrote historical set in Britain. And at the time, the advice was to use local dialect sparingly, right? Now, this
Indeed.
was this was over 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, it was like Cockney slang and Scottish brogue. And so, but you and your publisher fully embraced what you termed as Hawaiian Pidgin English, which
Indeed.
I loved. There was like a cadence to it that you
Hmm.
could pick up on really easily, and it didn't distract from the
Oh,
reading.
good.
So since that was my experience, I'm just curious, did that take some persuasion on your part, or was your editor, Thomas and Mercer, on board, and Thomas and Mercer, the publisher, on board from the get-go, or did
They
that
were
take a little?
absolutely on board. They were on
Okay.
board with everything, even
Oh, that's
including the
great.
glossary and the notes and the genealogy. They just
Yeah.
loved it all.
Okay.
And a lot
Good.
of that, my acquiring editor, Chantel Ami Osmond, she edited my first three Lily Wong thrillers. And so she knows how I incorporated, in that book, Mandarin and Cantonese into the book.
Mm-hmm.
But in KAUA'I Storm, it was exceedingly important not only to incorporate the levels of Hawaiian Pidgin English, because, by the way, not all locals speak the same kind of Pidgin English or the
Mm-hmm.
same degree of Pidgin. Like some of
Okay.
us just have like, a little bit kind lilt in our voice, and we don't worry
Mm-hmm.
about it too much. It's not so hard to understand like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So some of the characters are very subtle, others are very heavy, others have absolutely no dialect at all,
Mm-hmm.
and some characters speak Olelo Hawaii. And
Yeah.
that is the native
Native.
Hawaiian
Yeah.
language. They don't speak only that, but when we do, so I'm going to go to your house in Kokua. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you with the kaukau. I'm going to help prepare the kaukau. So
Yeah.
we integrate some of these things, and characters like Tutu, who are an elder, who are actually, the caretakers of tradition and culture for her family. She will actually go to the trouble of saying phrases or proverbs in Hawaiian. It's part to keep that alive in her
Mm-hmm.
family, to make sure it's in use, because there's a renaissance, going on now to really bring back Olelo Hawaii in everyday conversation and in
Mm-hmm.
schools. And so I wanted to respect that and do my part in using that. But you know what? And I'm used to this because I've done it with 5 other books, integrating foreign languages contextually so that the reader goes, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
get it. It
Yeah.
means something like this.
Right.
And if I
Right.
want you to know exactly what it means, I'll tell you. And I'll put
Mm-hmm.
that definition in italics, not the foreign phrases, the
Yeah.
definition in
Yeah.
italics, the way I would thought. And in that way, it's my hope to bring the reader into my culture, into my language, be a part of us,
Yeah.
welcome, e como mai, come on in to my
Yeah.
culture, be here with us.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that that's really good to hear about the Hawaiian language. That I'm here in Western North Carolina, and there's a Cherokee reservation, and whenever you go and you visit, you learn that they're bringing that language back into the schools so that the youngsters and things
Oh,
like that
good.
are learning the language and everything. So I think that's amazing that they didn't lose it.
Oh, I'm so
And
glad to hear that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
We did lose it for a while. It was
did you
actually
like
banned.
completely?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's it's mind-boggling, but um I really loved learning as we're talking about language and the culture, the people, the food, the plants, and the animals. And I've been very blessed recently with some other books. Chinese, Indonesian, and Ghanaian. So it's just been a real blessing this last month or so with books like yours that I'm learning more and more about different cultures. And weirdly, while reading your book, I was watching the first season of The White Lotus. Now I don't know if Lotus. I think I said locust, Lotus, which takes place on I think it's Maui and. But both the HBO series and your novel touched on the issue of like land ownership
mm.
and the devastating kind of emotional effects that had on the Native Hawaiians. And I was wondering if you wanted to speak to that a little bit. I know you don't want to give too much away, with spoilers and things like that, but yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was really important for me as a Kanaka Maoli writing about Hawaii to make sure that I looked at the issues that were affecting Native Hawaiians in Hawaii today. And so that
Hmm.
was one of the first things I did. I called up some friends, who I knew would still be like really heavy connected in that. And I said, what's going on? What
Yeah.
do you care
Yeah.
about? What is troubling you? What is bothering you? And some of those friends were born and raised on Kauai, and the land issues were a huge deal,
Yeah.
because back in the day, what Kamehameha did was he divided the land. This was to try and preserve it for the people when, America was coming in and,
Yeah.
everybody was trying to land grab and everything. And the way
Yeah.
to preserve it was to divide it into three: sovereign land, government land, land for the people. But at the time, you had to apply, and it was very complicated. And a lot of the Native Hawaiians didn't understand why they had to apply, because they've always
Hmm.
worked on the land. And because they've
Right.
worked the land in a feudal system, they always had access to everything they needed. And
Yeah.
all of that changed. And so a lot of them didn't go through the very complicated process of applying and the financial hardship of it. And so there are many now Native Hawaiian families who would have owned millions and millions of dollars worth of property had their ancestors understood.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have the Hawaiian homelands, which is a government function in Hawaii trying to to award land to Native Hawaiians with very inexpensive 99-year leases, $1 for a 99-year lease. But there's a catch, as there are with many things.
Always. Yeah.
There's a blood quantum. So now
Hmm.
you have the federal government dictating how much blood you have to have in order to be Hawaiian. And although Prince Kuhio at the time said, hey, it should be as low as possible, 1/32nd,
Hmm.
the United States government said 50%. So if you can think in your own terms, your own, whatever your makeup
Yeah.
is, your ethnic makeup is,
Right.
if you don't have 50%, guess what? You are not really that thing.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So this
Hmm.
created a whole bunch of emotional, financial, all sorts of troubles and dissensions within family,
Yeah.
because now only some members of the family qualify. And then you have to have at least 25% to inherit. So now only some members of the family can inherit. It's a big thing. So yes,
Hmm.
that was something I wanted to address. That and the whole pricing out. Too expensive,
Hmm.
locals not being able to afford to live, the things they do instead, what that leads to, the mystery, trouble, and of course there's a dead
Yeah.
body.
Always have to have the
There's
dead
got to
body,
be a dead body.
right? Absolutely. So, although Kauai Storm touches on some, challenges that the native Hawaiians that have had to face and are still facing today, we just want to make it clear that this novel is an incredible source of entertainment and outdoor adventure, and as Tori said, death. So
I
you're going to
appreciate
get
that.
everything that you normally would in a
I
mystery thriller.
appreciate that, because you know what? Entertaining people is like my number one concern. I want to
Absolutely.
do these other things, but
Yeah.
always, first and
Yeah.
foremost on my mind is I'm writing to entertain.
Yeah.
And I also want to touch on universal themes that everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
Everybody can relate to family. Everybody can relate to coming home and not fitting in, trying to find that new way.
Yeah.
No matter who you are and where you've been, these are two things that are always there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's home, but it's not quite home anymore, right?
Quite, not
Yeah.
quite.
Yeah. So we'll switch gears just a little bit here. Tell us about a recent book that you've read and loved, and maybe why.
Oh, recent book. J.T. Ellison's A Very Bad Thing.
Ah, yeah.
Of
Can't go
course, I
wrong
mean,
with JT. Yeah.
I was just going to say that she's pretty much my
Yeah.
go-to
Yeah.
author. She publishes something, I read it.
Yeah.
So that would
Yeah.
be one.
Yeah. No, that's great. All right, wonderful. So, do you have a favorite place that you like to write? And do you have any rituals that you do to get yourself in that right mindset?
Well, I gotta have tea. Gotta have tea.
What
I have
kind?
a
What kind of
uh,
tea?
this particular one is a special steeped infusion of fresh ginger, mint, rock sugar, and honey. Oh, and lemon.
Nice.
That's
Oh,
what's
that
in
sounds
this
delish.
one. This
Yeah, great.
morning I had Assam. Yesterday
Okay.
I had Darjeeling, and the day before that was Dragon Well. So I
Nice.
like my tea.
To
I like
mix
my
it
tea.
up.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
great.
I have a laptop and I'm a very kinetic person, so I'm constantly moving around. I'm usually starting standing or on the stool at the kitchen counter because everything with me revolves around the kitchen.
Okay. Okay. All right, great. So when you finish a book, maybe even when you finished this book, um, do you do something to celebrate whenever you hand this into your editor? Or do you treat yourself in some way?
I do, but not always in the same way. So I don't
Okay.
have like, a ritual. Oh, I have a giant cupcake and a glass of champagne. Yeah, no, I don't have like a particular ritual, but I always like to celebrate all the little milestones, I
Yeah.
finished the first draft. I sent it off to my agent. I sent it off to my editor, all those
Yeah.
little things. Writing, as you know, is such a marathon. Right?
Yeah.
If we just waited until book release day to celebrate, there would be like years in between. It's
I
like,
know,
no
right?
way. You got to
Yeah.
celebrate everything along the
Good.
way.
Good, good. All right, great. Well, Tori, before we go, can you tell us what's up next? Any future Makalanis?
There is. So this was a two-book contract. So
Okay.
I've already turned in the second book. So the first book is set on Kauai, and Makalani comes home from her grandmother's 85th birthday and finds two of her cousins have vanished. There's a murder in Kealia Forest Reserve, and her family is in utter turmoil. And so that's what's going on there. The second book finds her on the Big Island, Hawaii Island, and it all takes place on a Paniolo Hawaiian cowboy ranch. So
Ah,
that's super fun. I had great fun
okay.
with that
All
one.
righty. That will be fun. Anytime you have a cowboy in a book, there's always going to be a good
I
time, right?
know, right? I know, right? Oh, I do.
That's
I want
great.
to tell people, if you go to my website, torieldridge.com, and you click on the for readers, go to the KAUA'I Storm book club page. I have videos of on location videos,
Oh,
so you can
nice.
see some of the settings and hear some of the behind the scenes thing, in addition to discussion topics and the usual stuff that you would
Oh,
find.
fun.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that too.
All right, great, great. Well, folks, when this episode airs, Kauai Storm will be out, so be sure to order your copy today. Now, Tori, I know you're very active on social media. Is there one in particular that you like to jump on and that people can find a lot of good stuff on there about you?
Well, my favorite social media is Instagram. That's
Okay,
writer.tori. But, you can
writer.tori.
find
Okay.
everything through my website,
Yeah.
torieldridge.com.
Okay, great, great. Well, thanks a ton, Tori. I really enjoyed our chat, and I can't wait for readers to get their hands on Kauai Storm.
Oh, mahalo. Me too.
My- All right. Well, many thanks to everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'll be back soon with another great read. Take care.